The message that pierced the silence. Deep in the frozen void beyond Neptune, the United Earth Deep Space Array hummed with quiet purpose. Commander Sarah Torres sat in the control room, nursing her third coffee of the night shift. For 12 years, they had listened to the cosmic whispers, catching nothing but the ordinary songs of distant stars and the occasional burst of interstellar phenomena. The array consisted of humanity's most advanced receivers, spread across a 100-kilometer radius, synchronized to catch even the faintest intelligent signals. Most scientists called it a waste of resources, but Torres believed. She believed humanity wasn't alone in the universe. At 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time, everything changed. The signal started as a subtle deviation in the background noise. Torres almost missed it, but her years of experience made her pause. She adjusted the filters, isolated the frequency, and there it was, a pattern too deliberate to be natural. "Jenkins, wake up," she called to her sleeping colleague. "We've got something." The pattern repeated every 47 seconds. Not random, not natural, intelligent. Within hours, every xenolinguist and cryptographer on Earth was analyzing the signal. The message wasn't encrypted, it was designed to be understood. Through mathematical principles and visual representations encoded in the signal, humanity learned its first alien language. The message, when finally decoded, sent chills through everyone who read it. To any who hear this, we are the Vriller. Our world dies. The consortium comes for us all. They harvest civilizations. They consume futures. 12 species already gone. We are the last. They come now. Remember us. Avenge us. Do not let them find you. The coordinates embedded in the message pointed to a system 900 light-years away. But the signal itself was weak, indicating it had traveled for decades. The Vriller were likely already gone. President Maya Patel convened an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. The debate raged for days. Some argued for hiding, for going silent. Others pushed for investigation. "We cannot ignore this," argued Dr. Chen Wei, humanity's leading xenobiologist. "If this consortium exists, they'll find us eventually. Better to face them on our terms." The decision was unanimous. Humanity would investigate. Project Valkyrie launched within months. Using experimental quantum slip drives, humanity sent its first interstellar fleet. 12 ships equipped with the best technology Earth could produce. Captain James Morrison commanded the flagship, UES Defiance. The journey that should have taken centuries took only weeks. As they approached the Vriller system, the fleet's sensors picked up something massive. A blockade. Hundreds of ships, each larger than anything humanity had built, formed a sphere around the Vriller homeworld. Energy readings indicated weapons systems far beyond human comprehension. "Sir," Lieutenant Rice reported, "I'm detecting life signs on the planet. Millions of them. The Vriller aren't extinct." Morrison's jaw tightened. "They're being contained. Like cattle." As they observed from the system's edge, they witnessed the true horror. Massive harvester ships descended to the planet, extracting resources, not just minerals, but biological matter. The consortium was literally consuming the Vriller civilization. "Captain," the science officer whispered, "the energy signatures from those harvester ships match theoretical patterns for consciousness extraction. They're not just taking resources, they're harvesting minds." The bridge fell silent. Then Morrison spoke, his voice steel. "Send a message to Earth. Full encryption. Tell them what we found. Tell them humanity is going to war." The message that returned from Earth was simple. Do what must be done. Reinforcements coming. Make them pay. Morrison turned to his crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to introduce the consortium to humanity's oldest talent, warfare. Prepare for battle." As the human fleet powered up weapons systems, they noticed something interesting. The consortium ships, despite their size, were slow to react. They had grown complacent in their superiority. They'd never faced resistance, Morrison realized. They're bullies who've never been punched back. The first human attack came not with overwhelming force, but with precision. 12 ships against hundreds should have been suicide. But humanity had learned warfare against itself for millennia. They knew how to fight against superior numbers. Quantum missiles phased through consortium shields. Nanite swarms disabled weapon systems. Electronic warfare suites created chaos in consortium communications. The massive alien ships began to burn. From the planet below, the Vrillar watched in amazement as tiny ships danced between their oppressors, striking with surgical precision. For the first time in generations, they saw their tormentors bleed. The consortium responded with fury, but their tactics were crude. They relied on overwhelming firepower, not understanding the concept of guerrilla warfare. Human ships used the debris field as cover, striking and fading, never presenting a solid target. Within hours, the blockade was in disarray. Morrison opened a channel to the planet. Vrillar, this is Captain James Morrison of the United Earth Fleet. We received your message. We came to help. Prepare for evacuation. The response came in broken English, learned from the same mathematical principles they had sent in their distress call. You came. After so long. Humanity doesn't abandon those who call for help, Morrison replied. Now let's get your people to safety. As evacuation ships descended to the Vrillar homeworld, the consortium regrouped. Their commander, a being that appeared as living shadow, broadcast to the human fleet. Unknown species, you interfere with the natural order. The strong consume the weak. This is universal law. Morrison's response would be remembered in human history books. On Earth, we have a saying. The measure of a civilization is how it treats its weakest members. You're not strong. You're parasites, and humanity specializes in pest control. The battle resumed with renewed intensity. The consortium brought in reinforcements, ships from across their empire. But they had awakened something they didn't understand. Humanity's fury. From Earth, the quantum communicators brought news. Every shipyard was working overtime. Every able-bodied human was volunteering. Ancient enemies put aside differences. Religious leaders blessed the warriors. Artists created propaganda. Scientists shared their most secret research. Humanity was united as never before. Morrison received updates. Second Fleet launching in 48 hours. Third Fleet in 96. Fourth Fleet under construction. Message from Earth Command. Hold the line. The cavalry is coming. As the Vrillar evacuation continued, human ships formed a protective shell around the transport vessels. They took hits meant for the refugees, sacrificing themselves to save alien lives. The consortium commander watched in confusion. Why do you die for them? They are nothing to you. Lieutenant Reyes, commanding a damaged frigate about to ram a consortium battleship, broadcast for final words. They called for help. That makes them family. Her ship's explosion took out 3 consortium vessels. On Earth, the signal had been heard. Not just the Vrillar's cry for help, but the sound of human ships dying to protect strangers. The broadcasts of human sacrifice ignited something primal in the species. Factories that once produced consumer goods now churned out weapons. Research labs cracked the secrets of consortium technology recovered from debris. Every human colony sent ships. Even the Mars independence movement put aside their grievances to join the fight. The second human fleet arrived with 200 ships. The third brought 500. The fourth would bring thousands. The consortium had never encountered anything like this. Species they attacked either surrendered or fought briefly before succumbing. None had ever rallied their entire civilization for total war. None had ever fought with such fury for others. As the last Vrillar refugees escaped the system, Morrison surveyed the battlefield. Half his original fleet was gone, but they had saved millions. And now, with reinforcements arriving, it was time for the next phase. All ships, he broadcast, prepare to advance. We're taking this fight to their territory. The consortium commander's final transmission before retreating was tinged with something new. Fear. What are you? Morrison smiled grimly. We're humans, and you just gave us a common enemy. The fury that shattered boundaries. The war room aboard the UES Defiance buzzed with activity. Star charts covered every surface, each marking consortium territories, supply lines, and vulnerable points. Morrison studied them with the intensity of a predator learning its prey. They're not a civilization, Admiral Zhang observed over quantum comm from Earth. They're locusts, moving from system to system, consuming everything. Then will be the fire that burns them out, Morrison replied. The human fleets had swelled to unprecedented numbers. Every colony, every outpost, every mining station had contributed. The Fourth Fleet brought experimental weapons that bent the laws of physics. The Fifth brought eye-controlled drone swarms. The Sixth brought something unexpected, alien allies. News of humanity's stand had spread. Species hiding in the cosmic shadows emerged. The Kilari, masters of stealth technology. The Drengen, experts in biological warfare. The Thri, whose understanding of quantum mechanics surpassed even humanity's. All had lost worlds to the consortium. All saw in humanity a chance for vengeance. Your species fights like the ancient warriors of Thri legend, Ambassador Cathax told Morrison. Without fear, without mercy, for others rather than themselves. We fight because it's right, Morrison responded, and because someone has to. The combined fleet now numbered in the tens of thousands. Humanity's industrial might, focused entirely on war production, churned out ships faster than the consortium could destroy them. But Morrison knew numbers alone wouldn't win this war. We need to strike at their heart, he explained to the War Council. Find their leadership, end this at the source. Intelligence gathered from liberated worlds painted a picture of the consortium's structure. At its center was the Nexus, a massive space station the size of a moon, protected by layers of defensive systems and fleets. It's suicide, warned Commander Patel. Even with our combined forces, then we make sure it's worth dying for, Morrison replied. The assault began with deception. Fake fleet movements, false communications, decoy attacks on peripheral systems. The consortium, used to straightforward conquest, fell for every trick. They spread their forces thin, trying to respond to threats that didn't exist. When the real attack came, it was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human creativity, alien technology, and sheer desperation created weapons that defied conventional warfare. Kilari cloaking fields hid entire fleets. Drengen bioweapons turned consortium ships against each other. Thri quantum bombs created localized reality distortions. But it was human psychology that proved most devastating. The consortium had never faced an enemy that grew stronger with every loss, that turned grief into fury, that saw death as motivation rather than defeat. The battle for the Nexus lasted 17 days. For every human ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. Volunteers flew suicide missions, ramming consortium vessels when their weapons failed. Engineers jury-rigged failing systems with solutions that defied safety protocols. Medics worked without sleep, keeping crews fighting long past normal endurance. On the 15th day, Morrison led a strike team into the Nexus itself. What they found there shook even battle-hardened veterans. The consortium leadership weren't conquerors, they were addicts. The consciousness extraction technology had corrupted them, turning them into beings that fed on the thoughts and memories of other species. They had become parasites in the truest sense. You don't understand. The consortium Primarch pleaded as human Marines stormed the command center. We need this. Without the extracted consciousness, we die. Then die, Morrison said coldly, and pulled the trigger. With their leadership gone, the consortium military machine faltered. Some surrendered. Others fought to the death. Many flowed into dark space, becoming pirates and raiders. But the war had changed the galaxy forever. In the aftermath, humanity faced a choice. They could have claimed the consortium's empire, ruled through military might. Instead, they did something unprecedented. Every species deserves freedom. President Patel announced. Every world will choose its own path. We'll provide protection, share technology, offer guidance, but we will not rule. The Galactic Alliance was born, not an empire, but a federation of free worlds. Humanity became its guardians, not its masters. The rescued Vriller became the first members, followed by the Kilari, Drangen, and Thry. Morrison, now Admiral of the Alliance Defense Force, stood on the bridge of the Defiance, looking out at a gathering of ships from a dozen species. They were holding a memorial for all who had died in the war. Was it worth it? Asked Captain Reyes, recently promoted. All those lives. Morrison watched as a Vriller child placed a flower on a memorial to human dead. We gave the galaxy a chance. We showed them that strength exists to protect, not to exploit. Yes, it was worth it. The memorial broadcast went out on all frequencies, using the same technology the Vriller had used for their distress call. But this time, the message was different. To all who hear this, you are not alone. The darkness can be fought. The strong can protect the weak. There is hope. There is help. Humanity stands guard. Across the galaxy, on worlds hiding from predators, in ships fleeing persecution, in colonies struggling to survive, beings looked up at the stars with something they hadn't felt in generations. Hope. And in the deep black between stars, other predatory species noted the fall of the consortium. They marked humanity as dangerous, as unpredictable, as best avoided. The message was clear. The galaxy had new protectors, and they fought with a fury that burned worlds. Years later, historians would mark this as the turning point. The moment when humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors, but as liberators. The moment when the broadcast that awoke humanity's darkest wrath led to the galaxy's brightest dawn. The Vriller signal had traveled 900 light-years and decades of time to find the one species crazy enough, stubborn enough, and compassionate enough to answer. In doing so, it had changed the fate of countless worlds. And somewhere in the cosmic dark, other species began to send their own signals, knowing now that someone would answer. Someone would come. Someone would fight. Humanity had found its purpose among the stars, not to rule, but to protect. Not to conquer, but to liberate. Not to destroy, but to preserve. The broadcast that awoke humanity's darkest wrath had, in the end, revealed its greatest strength, the capacity to fight for others, to sacrifice for strangers, to stand against darkness wherever it threatened the light. And the galaxy would never be the same.